Talk Shows family, it's Namsa here at Ngosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I have Carol Ann Cooper, Dr. Bigot, and Claudia Passa. How are you, ladies?
Very well, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks.
So, our topic today is myths about self-forgiveness that could hold you back. Carol Ann, you chose this topic. Could you please explain the topic to our audience?
Yes, it's something that we've been talking about is self-forgiveness, and just sort of thinking around that topic. And I just thought, well, maybe there's things that would stop people, that would hold them back from actually being able to practice that. And so I thought it might be a good idea to explore. Maybe there are some common myths or beliefs that people have about self-forgiveness that actually stop them from them actually practicing it. And so that's where it came from. It's just there's always something, maybe it just stops you or stops somebody practicing it. So I just thought, yeah, that might be a good idea. So what are other people's thoughts? What are they? I know I'm sort of looking at it, there's a whole host of things around forgiveness and things around myths around forgiveness, perhaps forgiving others, that could also apply to self-forgiveness as well. So just love to explore this and some of the myths and what are they, and just sort of chew open a few of them and how can we reframe them, and help people to sort of start moving forward with self-forgiveness instead of holding themselves back.
Exactly, this is what you just said, holding themselves back. Yeah, I like to as well to bring in once more as well awareness that everything we have not forgiven others and as well including ourselves, it's holding us back. So basically, when we understand this, that it's about freeing this energy, or freeing as well the person, the situation, and as well including us, where we played as well our part in the role in the situation. So it's just like everything is like just freeing us from what has happened. And it's important because otherwise we keep on walking with this specific energy around the situation, and it's like having a ball of chain on your feet and you just like it feels very heavy, it holds you back as well. And rather than practicing self-forgiveness as well, so that you can free yourself of it, and then you can use the energy to go forward and to create your goals and desires. Dr. Birgit?
I love what you both say. I think for some people, they simply don't even realize that there is a need of self-forgiveness. Being a grief specialist, depend on what happened in life, many people understand, and then there is a whole nother story why people do not or cannot forgive, do not want to or cannot forgive other people. But many people who have not been in the personal development industry, they don't even realize there is a need of self-forgiveness. They just say, okay, so I need to forgive A, B, C, this and this person and that person and these things and so forth. But they don't realize at the bottom of that. So many people, for instance, come with me with guilt. The guilt and grief seems to go together. They are best buddy. Guilt, grief, anger. Those are a trio. Much more than sadness. And they're like, okay, I have all this guilt, and then the first time they hear the word self-forgiveness, they're like, huh, what's that? So a lot of people sometimes just not even aware, I think, about the self-forgiveness. Personal development industry can be a little bit of a new lingo and a new language. And being a doctor, I can relate in the double way to people who's not who kind of has not been studying personal development. Because imagine if you come to my clinic and I start saying blah, 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 all these medical languages, and you'll be like, what are you saying? And for me, it would have been common things to say. And on the other hand, you might be like, what's all that? And why am I doing all that? And so I think one of the things, as Carol and said, what's holding people back is an understanding of really what it is. And then we can discuss in a moment, but also the understanding what really forgiveness is, because a lot of time people, like you said, Caroline, has a misunderstanding, or there's a lot of, just like with grief itself, there's a lot of myths. There's a dozen myth or misunderstanding that's common, even among counselor and psychotherapists, never mind the public. So the same thing with the forgiveness part. What about you, Numsa? What have you discovered about forgiveness, being a relationship expert?
I agree with you, with everyone, what you guys just said about forgiveness. And I also agree with Kero Ann and Dr. Biggett when you say you have to understand what forgiveness is, because if you don't understand forgiveness, unforgiveness can hold you back. It can hold your life. And but some people, they get confused when you say forgive. They say forgive yourself or forgive. They say, why do I have to be the one that has to go through this process of forgiveness, or why do I have to forgive myself? Unforgiveness, when you don't forgive, is you hinder your destiny. You hold your destiny, everything that you try to do in that process, and also it becomes a curse that causes sickness. It becomes infirmity that can cause death as well if you don't forgive yourself, or you hold unforgiveness for other people. And I've realized that when I was going through the process of healing, when I go into personal development, I went through self-forgiveness myself. The process was very, very interesting, because I've realized that some of the problems that I was experiencing were coming from my ancestors, and some of my bloodline, my parents or my grandparents were holding, and those people, they're not alive. They were holding unforgiveness to one of the members in the family. So when you go through the power of forgiveness, it's a healing that can actually, it can help you to become who you want to become. And also it hinders everything. If people are not aware, like Dr. Biggett is saying, it's like grief. It will hinder the success. It will hinder even the mindset. It will hinder everything if you don't fully forgive. So I had to go through myself. I had to go through forgiveness, and wherever there was unforgiveness. And there was part of me, there was something that since I was a child, I witnessed something as a child, and I was struggling to let it go. And there was time when I was going through healing, I confronted that process to let it go, because as a child, there's some secret that you witness. And I had to keep that secret myself. And that secret made me angry as a child. Why does this person have to do this to my dad? And when I tried to let it go, I had this dark cloud in myself. I hadn't forgiven myself for holding that secret. And there was anger in me. I was really, really angry. When I'm meaning angry, when I think about it, I was really upset that why would this person do this to my dad? He didn't deserve this. I never told anyone in my family. So when I got rid of this unforgiveness, when I got rid of it, I realized that I had opened the door. And I didn't realize this thing was big. And that's when I was confronted with so many energies. And when I closed that door, opened it to leave, and there was something that entered and said no. And that's when I realized what it means to hold unforgiveness. And since then, when I did my healing, if somebody upsets me, I cry about it. If I have to cry, I forgive myself and I run from that problem. I don't want to hold it. I want to let it go because I didn't realize how big it was. Until you experience it, then you will understand what it means. It's scary. It's really, really, really scary. And over to you, Claudia.
Carol Ann or me?
Okay, I was just going to say I like what Dr. Fajit was saying about some people have no awareness of self-forgiveness, and I can relate to that. When you said that just now, Fajit, it was like, well, actually, yes, I had no awareness about forgiving myself for actions that I'd taken that resulted in the consequences that happened. And it's only as we're having this conversation and we're talking about self-forgiveness that I actually, the other day, was it on Wednesday, I just suddenly went talking to somebody else. I said, actually, I forgive myself for not taking the actions and for not getting the money that I said I would get that has created the situation that we're in now. And all of a sudden, I just felt different. I hadn't even thought about forgiving myself up until that point. So it's, not being aware of it, but also you can be aware of it, but not realize, well, actually you could apply it to certain circumstances, to different circumstances. And I realized that I had been angry with myself. I've been making myself so wrong and pushing and saying, I've got to do this, and I haven't done it yet, and no. And having a scream and a shout with the Lord as well. Why haven't I done it? Well, okay, it hasn't happened yet. Let it go. And in that moment of realizing, okay, I just need to forgive myself. I just felt a peace and a quiet and an acceptance. The situation is as it is. Just let me move forward and just move forward and know that something will shift, something will open up. And that's, so thank you for that. Yeah, it is having that awareness, but also then being able to apply it to yourself and circumstances, and realizing that it is possible to forgive yourself and let go of that anger. But I think one of the myths that there is that people think forgiveness or self-forgiveness is about forgetting. And that's the truth isn't. It's not about forgetting. It's about reflecting and becoming wiser and learning from it. And then using it just to help navigate where you're going in your life. So it's not about forgetting. It's about coming to peace, finding peace in yourself and looking at it. So how can you use this? How can you learn from it to move forward? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're going to say something. Is it Claudia?
I love that. I love what you said, Carol, and the two things about that. Yeah, sometimes, and it could be sneaky, so to say. When I said sneaky, in a way, difficult to recognize is what I mean. And because sometimes people say, "Oh, okay, so how do I know I need to forgive myself?" Sometimes it's not that clear and easy. So, for instance, one of a recent client she had to do certain procedures in her body. So this is a physical procedure, a surgery in her body, in her system, and in her intestinal tract. And after these procedures, he was no longer able to eat or do certain things in life. And yes, you can say, oh, maybe the procedures didn't come out right, or this or that. This is physical procedures, and he didn't even notice any anger or anything, but afterward he wasn't able to do certain thing in life. And then turned out that once we worked together, I just from speaking with him once, because of my training and experience, I said, you know what? You want to do a forgiveness, and that is a forgiveness toward the people the whole medical team, but also even more as importantly, and he did a forgiveness toward the medical team. All right, he feels better, but nothing happened. And then he did a forgiveness under my guidance in step-by-step manner, a self-forgiveness. Guess what? This has been about 10 years since he has not been able to do this and to eat that and all these things after the procedures. And voila, magically, he's able to eat all those again and do all those things again. Literally within a matter of, a few days, something in him said, just give it a try. Just give it a try. Of course, we train him on a lot of other things as well to allow him to be able to move forward. And he just give it a try. Give it a try. He gave it a try. He's like, oh, I was okay. Okay, let me try something else. I was okay. It's like, wow, this is like, it's like, how many counseling, how many medication, how many whatever else have I done? And the same thing, there is another client very recently, and actually she had the same thing. She suddenly, this is also a physical thing. She become allergic. She become allergic to her own cat, like that. Overnight, she has always been sensitive to a lot of things, but she was okay with cats. That's why she has cats. And seemingly overnight, she become allergic to her own cats and any cat and dog in any place. And which make her sad and make the cat sad. And thankfully, they have a large enough house that they don't have to give the cat away. But imagine if you don't live, this person has a multi-story house and all this thing and other people in the household. So she didn't have to give her cat away. But otherwise, in a different scenario, she was so allergic. If she's in the same room, she has to wear a mask and a goggle and those whole thing, extreme allergy. And the same thing, we did find, we were working on something else, and then something came to me, and I said, you know what, let's veer off. Here's a little bit. We did the forgiveness for the cat, as well as I teach her a few other tools. And now she's playing with the cat again. And so many times people don't realize when there is an opportunity, not only like you said, Caroline, but there is an opportunity of forgiveness, but many times people don't realize when there is an opportunity of forgiveness and self-forgiveness. And in general, I would say that to we hear a lot, people in personal development, it's hold you back, but what does it look like? And one thing that it looked like, if you are not if you're new in the personal developments or something, one thing it looked like is, in general, there is almost always an opportunity for forgiveness toward others and for ourselves when your result is not what you want. It's that simple. Is your result is as awesome and amazing, or even more awesome and amazing than what you really want? If the answer is not, even if you say, yeah, well, my results not what I want. But the truth is, if I'm being honest of myself, I've been slacking all this time. I've been, I kind of like say, I got to do this, I got to do that. I know I'm supposed to do this, I know I'm supposed to do that, and I'm not doing them. Of course, my result. But then why are you slacking? Because you know in your head that you need to do certain thing. So why are you slacking? And that typically is an opportunity of a forgiveness in there. And so, but a lot of people don't realize, like you said, Caroline, an opportunity of why, where is it that they, and in general, if your result's not what you want, even if you logically can say why, many times, almost all the time, there's still an opportunity, a hidden opportunity for forgiveness and self-forgiveness. What's your thought about that, Claudia or Numsa?
Yeah, absolutely. In regards to as well forgiveness, in your example, Dr. Birgit, is that the client tried it and then he saw as well it's working because he felt better and much lighter. A shift as well has happened as well within them. And this is already a sign, just like right on. And by feeling those shifts, you can see something old has been lifted off you. Another thing that I have came as well a few times across with my clients is that people don't forgive themselves out of guilt. They think they hold themselves back and they keep judging themselves, feeling shame for things they think they have done to others and they have done wrong as well. So again, but by doing this, we keep us as well, again, like stuck. So again, here, this is something as well to bring up and to show us by not being able to go the next step and to forgive us as well for something we have eventually done as well wrong to others. We keep still staying in this loop, playing out the what if and so on. Maybe some regret as well coming up, and all these are very low, heavy energies, and we can't just go on and move on with our lives and create as well the things we desire. So just like really important to understand these things. And forgiveness as well doesn't mean that we condone the behavior others did as well. It is just like it means that we are no longer in this againstness of what has happened. Okay, so this is as well very important to understand. And basically it's a way of saying that the person or the situation has no longer power basically over us, and we are free. Because again, if we keep this energy inside of us, then we keep creating more of this sort of experiences because the energy is still within us. So just very important to get this. And self-forgiveness is very important as well to do because of all the judgments we have as well towards us. So we judge ourselves, obviously, as well. We judge people outside, but as well we have judgments towards us. And again, judgments are just basically they hurt us only. It's just again, just please be aware as well of the judgment against others and as well towards you, and forgive those judgments as well, because they are just really not useful as well, and they just hurt us. Nomsa?
Claudia just said that we judge ourselves, and it's really bad because it happens in real life. People do judge themselves. They judge them from beginning to the end of their lives. They judge their destiny. I'm not enough.
Bit frozen or
Frozen?
I think it's Nomsa that's frozen.
No,
Yeah.
academic.
there she is back again. Okay.
Is my connection okay?
Yeah, it was a bit frozen, but you're back on.
Okay. So you hear parents saying, I don't think my child is academic. I don't think my child is sporty. I don't think my child, I'm like, how do you know? Because I don't know anything about, I know my children, but I don't know the things that they are capable of until I bring it out, until I support them to try. If I don't try, I'm never gonna know. That I see my youngest one, you see she's struggling with something, and then the next thing you support her, she's doing that, she's up there. And then my older one is the same thing. So I'm like, why would you judge your child in a painful way? Because when you judge somebody, or you say, I don't think there is many out there for me, I don't think there's women out there for me that can tolerate me, that's putting a judgment on you. Or I don't think I can do this. We're putting judgment on ourselves. And I like it, Dr. Bigot, when you put an example of your clients that they go do the counseling and nothing is happening until one day magically something happens. That means that thing is already there. They just needed to actually accept it and just be who they're meant to be. So that's what forgiveness is about. It's not forgetting or condoning. And self-forgiveness is a process that takes time. It's not just like a single event that happens, but it's a journey of self-reflection and understanding the power of healing, and also understanding, not actually judging your past. Some people, they're really, really good of judging their past. That their lives based on their past. Whatever happens in the past, we have to use it as a learning, as a skill, so we can just grow from that. But we judge ourselves. We basically put ourselves on the where Jesus was crucified. We crucify ourselves. And that's why when you hear people, they say, actually, we are looking for the enemy, but the enemy is actually within us. So that's what happened with the self-forgiveness. You have to learn to forgive. And also, you have to understand the power of healing. The power of healing, it means I'm not forgetting what happened. I'm not forgetting the mistakes that I've made, but I'm embracing them as I go along, because I'm a human being that makes mistakes. I'm a human being that is learning. We learn every single day. So, like myself, my website is not working. It's not been working for a few weeks, but I'm not blaming myself. I should have actually requested for my logins from people, but I didn't. So, but I'm not blaming myself. I'm learning from it. I've learned from it. So it means now when somebody works with me, I'm going to have to be involved in everything and say, okay, that's what you're helping me with this. Let me have control, access of it. So I'm learning all these things, because sometimes we can easily put a judgment on ourselves, but there's no need. I put judgment on myself in so many things, and that got me in trouble. So it's actually, there was a time where when I was growing up, I used to spend time swimming. If you were not to find me in the house, I'll be swimming. So I witnessed some of my friends dying, drowning, or something happens. And since then, I've never wanted to go back. I was a big fan of swimming. And after that, never wanted to go swimming anymore. When I came to the UK, I didn't want, it's not a decision that I decided I didn't want to go, but because that was in my head, what happened was in my head. Maybe I should have done something, but it wasn't my fault. I was young as well, and never wanted to go swimming. But now I've worked on that. I've worked on self-forgiveness. Now I can go swimming. I can actually bath with the cold water. I don't mind, but that was the thing that I loved. I loved staying in the water. We'll stay like swimming maybe 4 hours, like racing with my friends. If we get kicked out in the swimming, we go to the river. That's where we'll be not playing like swimming and going under the water, maybe staying 5 minutes under the water or 10 minutes. That's when my friend one of them died. So, and yeah, so that, and since then I was like, okay, I don't know what happened in my head, but I didn't want to go swimming. It felt like not wanting to go swimming. It felt like I didn't know how to swim anymore. It's like, I don't know anyone that feeling. If you've never been in the water before, that's how I felt, that I've never been in the water. I don't swim. I think those were the feelings that I oppressed myself, oppressed the feelings, and those feelings became my reality. So when I started doing the healing, then I remembered the thing that I love the most is not football, it's not music. Swimming comes fast. That's when I remembered. But that's what the self-forgiveness does. If you don't forgive yourself, the reason I'm sharing this is you can see the picture. What happens if you don't forgive, or if it's marriage, you don't forgive marriage, that means you don't want to date no more. So that's what happened with me. Was with the water. I was nobody. I was like no one. Like it was like I've never been in the water before. It felt like I've never swam before. It felt like I've never even like tried to swim. Like I was not a beginner. I was like not anybody like who has ever been in the water, until something happens when I was doing that process that actually, I think I was after Carol Ann. Was the Carol Ann when we're doing the event? I was before that. That's when I realized actually I love water the most. I used to spend hours and hours, but I've forgotten that because my people that I knew died in that water.
I think that's something that's really powerful there. The power that we have to just stop ourselves, and you just literally, your whole being and body just went,
yeah,
don't know how to swim, don't know how to be in water.
Yeah, never been.
That is the power that we have within us. And it's phenomenal. And I think really it's just holding that for a moment, that power that we have. And so, yes, when you remembered and then were able to forgive yourself, and it's not about letting off, whatever happened. It's not about letting anybody off the hook or because of whatever happened. It's about understanding what happened. You can't change what happened. What happened. It's about understanding it and then just being able to forgive, but then forgive yourself for whatever part you felt that you took in that, or whatever you were doing. Forgive yourself. And then, as you said, that magic happens. It's like it unlocks something. There's a freedom to move again and go, oh, well, actually, yeah, I can swim. I do know how to swim, and it's okay for me to go swimming. Yes, this is what always amazes me, is the power that we have within us. It truly is phenomenal. And to be able to wake up to that is remarkable. And this is what, we're wanting people to get aware of and to experience. And as you say, it's not about letting people off the hook. It's not about forgetting it. So recognize, what are these beliefs, these myths that you are saying to yourself that has you not forgive yourself. And something else that people think, forgiveness is a weakness. It's weak. Well, actually, is it not? Is it not a strength? because you're refusing to take revenge. You're not letting yourself get into that, I've got to have revenge on them, you know. What happened? It was somebody else's fault, or what, and you've got to have revenge. No, that isn't what it's about. It's just, again, acceptance and forgiveness and coming from a place of love that enables you to move on, because actually, ultimately, you're the one that's suffering by holding on to it. Namsa suffered all those years and not being able to swim, do something she totally enjoyed doing. It was her number one favorite thing. And she stopped herself. We punish ourselves by holding on to anger, thinking that revenge is the answer. You know, if somebody's wronged us, we've got to have revenge. The most powerful thing is actually forgiveness and self-forgiveness along with that. So thank you for sharing that, Namsa. Because
that's okay. And also, if somebody was to come and ask and say, Namsa, can you swim? I'm like, nope, I can't swim. I do not want, in my heart, I'm like, I don't want no explanation to explain why I don't like swimming. I'm like, no, I can't swim. But then I was like, after, and I was like, actually, swimming is the thing that I love. Honestly, we used to spend all day swimming, me and my family and my friends, and in the area. And that's when I realized, actually, this is what it does when you don't forgive, because I was really shocked because I was young as well. So maybe I had questions. Why do people die? Why does it mean going in the water? Does it mean I'm going to die? I don't know what went on in my head. That's all I can explain it. But there was something unforgiveness there, but I had to go through that in order for me just to let it go.
That's I love that. There are two things I think I want to point out for our audience from what you said there, what you shared, Numsa, and what you said, Caroline. And the first one is, so I don't know if anybody recognize this if you're listening to this. So what Numsa say, the story Numsa have just now, if you were to give it a label, because a lot of time people give a label, and in a way, a label or a diagnosis, not that I'm diagnosing you, first of all, or anybody right now, but if you were to give that a label, because sometimes it's easier to understand once we put a tag on something. That experience, that turnaround experience like that is what many people call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD or CPTSD or any form of that. And so that also leads us to many times people who I work with many countless people with PTSD, and they're like, I've done counseling, I've done EMDR, I've done hypnotherapy, you name it, and they're done for the last many years on weekly basis, and they're like, what is it? Why is it something? And that is because a lot of time, just like with you, Numsa, it's beautiful illustrations where it doesn't make sense to you. You're like, I don't know why. Like you say, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm doing that. So the PTSD, a lot of the common PTSD so-called treatment or help out there, most of them help try to address our mind. But you don't even know why. It's not logical. It's not logical to you, and then maybe to a counselor it is, but it's not logical. What you did is, and even if it is logical, it's not necessarily in your mind, because forgiveness is all about heart. So if you have PTSD and you try this and that and this and that, and then even CPTSD, because there is plenty of most people, by the time they make it to me, they have CPTSD, not just PTSD, and you're like, I've tried all this thing, it still hasn't worked. Perhaps there is just a missing link. Actually, I just did a talk last week about a missing link, and one of the missing link is the forgiveness, the forgiveness, and to it, not just forgiveness, but to clear your heart, but the forgiveness part of that. So join us tomorrow if you or your loved ones want to learn more. And the other things that Caroline says, it's just the anger and don't want to let other people, that persons goes, and it's not approving or agreeing, which is very true. But I think the other part, being a grief specialist, perhaps again, that I see is not the one that caught people at the very last moment. It's not even when it's self-forgiveness about anger. It's about guilt. Some of us, depend on what happened. Many grief clients came to me and said, I don't deserve to be forgiven. I deserve to be punished for the rest of my life. You didn't know what the heck I have done. And we talk, and it is absolutely, my heart goes to them. My heart goes to you if you are experiencing this. I can only imagine how you feel, and I hear you. And I got you that you feel you do not deserve to be forgiven because you have done such a horrendous thing. And you might have heard all the logic under the sun where, well, you know what, you tried the best that you possibly could at the moment of what have you, yada, yada. And then you hear about these things happen because look at it logically because of this, but you still feel deep there in the middle of the night. There's something still wake you up and you still say, I don't deserve. And for some of my clients, they are outspoken and they say, you know what? I think I'll just suffer and I'll just be, so if it destroy my result, I'll be homeless for the rest of my life because I deserve to be punished. Now, please let me tell you this. Newer studies from these are medical studies as well as scientific studies shows that what's going on in your heart affected people outside of you physically as well as their result. So this study shows that whatever going on, and these are EKG, those heart measurement machine, these are EKG studies. So it's not subjective. That what's going on in your heart using advanced EKG, not only they are able to measure it, whether you feel anger, whether you feel guilt, whether you feel happy or neutral, not only they are able to see a change in your EKG, they did a study where they put somebody, and this is a person or a pet, like a dog, across the room, not communicating each other. They can't even see you. And what's going on in your heart? If you feel angry, if you feel this and that, it changed your EKG, but it also changed the EKG across the room. So if you have a loved one, even if you don't see them on regular, even if you don't live with them, but if you have a loved one, whether it's a person or a pet, and you feel guilt and you say, I don't deserve to be forgiven. Do you think they deserve to thrive? They, not you. It's not about you anymore. Do you think they deserve to do well? And if you think yes, then okay, would you want to do this at least for them, even if you feel you don't deserve? And if say you don't live with one of our clients, she live only with her plants and her dog, and then he says, you know what? Okay, I care about my dog enough that I will allow this. I will allow this. My dog is my daughter to me, and so he did the finally. This is after years after things happen. He did a forgiveness, and so fascinatingly, the dog was having heart problem. He was okay physically. The dog was having heart problem. He was on medications for heart problem. And it was kind of like one of those that's very challenging. It's like, seems like better, worse, back and forth. The veterinarian cardiologist was discouraged and frustrated. He did the forgiveness. Suddenly it's smooth sailing for the dog. Kind of curious, isn't it? Now, and also at work, he worked in a certain manner. He doesn't work in an office, but a lot of time it was, he said, oh, people cheat on him and this and that, people doesn't pay him, or people just not doing what they're doing. And then he was like, wow, you know what? Oh my God, those people that is so many years ago didn't want to pay me. They just suddenly send payment. After 3 years, after 5 years, after all these years. And I said, congratulations, you can share some of the money with me. I'm just kidding. So, but even if you don't deserve. And some of these people later on told him, you know what, I don't know what catching us. And we really kind of like feel bad all this year that we didn't pay you. But it's just like, I don't know, it's just something off. And then it's like, boom, one day we're like, okay, you know what? I don't know what the heck. We are able to pay him. Let's pay him. These are friends and family and people who they work with. So, and he's like, oh, so in the meantime, he think those people are being evil, but it's actually something in him that's stopping them, and they feel bad too. It's like, what an interesting ripple effect that we're not aware. Now, with scientific study, medical studies has shown this. And so even if you feel you don't deserve it, please allow your loved one and people you work to be that way, to thrive as well. What about you, Claudia? What's your experience?
Well, obviously, I mean, if we don't think we don't deserve to forgive ourselves, and we deserve to punish ourselves as well this way. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of the process, and I would as well like look into it. It sounded a bit to me like self-worth as well, because in the end as well, it's a bit of a package, and we can't just automatically as well. Sometimes when we are not ready, but then it's always good as well to look at other points why we think we are not ready. And so it's just, it sounded to me a bit like self-worth in regards to this client. Something else I like to point out though as well, what I came up with is the misunderstandings, that we have to forgive ourselves for the misunderstandings we have bought from other people, from the society as well. Something we made it mean for us. And that's just not the truth, you know, like something some person said in the past, and because of that, we think we made it mean something, that we are so and so, but this is just a misunderstanding. It's not the highest truth, and this is as well important to see it and to clear it. And self-forgiveness is a great tool to clear out the misunderstandings. And as well to understand that anything we haven't forgiven from the past will be like past pain meets future fear. So obviously, on some level, we do this as well, not to forgive. We might not be ready because we fear subconsciously that it's going to be repeated, like some relationship trauma in the past, that marriage and so on. So we hold it somehow as a container in us, a bit like a safety, because we think we can prevent this to happen again. But again, what we don't understand actually this way, because we still hold this story in us, we get actually again more of it. So just like again, clear, and self-forgiveness is very important.
Nancy, did you want to say something, or you're muted?
Yeah, I agree what you guys are saying, and also we have to learn to trust, rebuild our lives. If there is something that has gone wrong in our lives, we need to actually build it. And also the understanding is very, very important to understand the meaning of life, the journey, what it means, because what I've realized through this journey of forgiveness and healing and understand what is healing is about. We have two worlds on earth. We have a spiritual world and the physical world. So what we believe to be true in the physical world, it might not be true in the spiritual world. So you have to understand how it works. By understanding it, like sometimes I thought it, like when I started to go deep with the healing and understanding how God works, I realized that actually myself, like in the physically, I might be called Nomsa, but in the spirit, I might have given another name. And myself, like if I hold the unforgiveness, there must be a name that is representing me that is bad. That could be a bad name that is representing me. Or it could be in the physically, you think you're just an ordinary person. But in spirit, you are something big. That's what I realized as I keep going through unforgiveness, because when you hold unforgiveness, you open the door, and the door of going somewhere else, you remain in somewhere else, you get locked up in somewhere else, your mindset get locked up in somewhere else. You have to release yourself, the chains. So that's why it's very, very important. It's very complicated to understand that. For me, that's when I realized, when I was going through the journey of healing and also facing the Satanism, that's when I realized actually these people connect people through unforgiveness. So everybody says, I'm not a God's believer. I don't believe in God. But the truth is, guess what? He doesn't care whether you believe in God or you don't. Satanism, it just takes you whether you are a non-believer or you are a believer, as long you hold unforgiveness, as long you put yourself in that altar of judgment. Because when you say, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I don't think, but when God created you, he knew that you were unique. He knew that you were this special person that stands out from the crowd, from anybody else, that cannot be replaced. He knew that. He knew that when your blood goes down, like let's say you die through accident, you die through something, if it's not natural death, your blood will cry, wanting that person to forgive you. But who are you? Like saying, I can't do this, I am this, I don't deserve this. So that is putting yourself in the altar of judgment. So before you can actually judge yourself and look at the other people and think those people, they are better than you, that is judgment. That is you judging you. And if you realize, have that awareness that this is what I have done about myself, if there's any audience that you judge yourself and say, because of the past, we judge ourselves maybe because of the past or because of insecurity, fear. Mm-hmm. So if you have judged yourself, you need to go back and ask for forgiveness. And asking for forgiveness, it means that you want to be free, because there's no way you can be free. That's why we go through so much pain in life, because we hold that unforgiveness. I'm talking about the journey that is real, that I've gone through, holding unforgiveness, through not realizing as well that I'm holding unforgiveness and I'm thinking I'm okay. But when I actually go deep, I realize actually, no, I'm not okay. I don't feel okay. So you're just gonna have to, if you are a human living being, forgive yourself. Self-forgiveness is very, very important, because Lucifer doesn't care whether you are a non-religious person or you are a religious person. He your mindset represent your destiny. Your mind represent your head represent your destiny. And that's why so many people, you hear them, they have mentally health problems, because some of it is genetic, that you need to cut the cord. Some of it is the pain we go through life. We think we are okay, and that pain builds and builds and builds, and then you end up having mentally health problems without being aware of it. So we can tackle that. And those who are coaches, mental health problems, raise the awareness so people know. I didn't know that when I hold myself, it will affect my mind, will affect so many things. But when I start going through deep healing, prayers and fasting, I release some stuff. And then that's when I'm like, hey, that's what I do when I do this. So I don't want to do that no more. I want to forgive Nomsa. So it's 7 minutes past 2, guys. Any words of encouragement, Dr. Biggett?
Absolutely. I love your shares, Numsa. And as as you just say, as my word of encouragement is, as Numsa says, and combined to what I said earlier, if you are a human living being, and your result is not where you would love to be in any way, shape, or form, then look into it. Perhaps there is an opportunity for forgiveness. And know that even if you tried it in so many different ways for so many years, which is many of my clients do, there is hope. They just give it a try with somebody different, something new, because sometimes it's just needs slight different angle to allow you to have what it is that you want, and not only you, but everyone around you whom you care to.
Carol Ann?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about one of the myths I just wanted to share, just sort of to leave people with the thought that very often they think that to forgive somebody else, that person needs to be sorry. That person needs to be, to repent, for want of another word. But actually, what you were saying, Dr. Brigitte, shows the power that actually love, which is including forgiveness, has a transformative power, which can actually cause the person to want to repent. So actually, because something shifts. So just by standing in love, it's coming from the heart, not the head. And so if you're thinking that someone else needs to say they're sorry before you can forgive them, or there's an inner part of you that has to say they're sorry before you can forgive them and do self-love, just twist that around. Give it a go, see what happens. What have you got to lose? But one thing you can gain is actually peace of mind and an ability to move on. And a tension will have gone from your body. So forgiveness, self-forgiveness, does not depend on the other person being sorry, because that will come. So that's just what I'd love to leave you with. So thank you for that, Dr. Brigitte, that scientific, it's coming out again. I've heard it years ago. And again, science is continually coming up with the same proofs and coming up and showing it. And so let's really start to hear it. I think it can now be heard. Whereas all those years ago, it was falling on deaf ears a lot. Now, I think it can be heard. So yeah, self-forgiveness, key to loving relationships, just happening. So thank you. Yes, Claudia, what would you like to leave people with?
Beautiful. I would love to share my practical compassionate self-forgiveness tool. And actually, we didn't say that compassion and self-forgiveness are quite similar. Yeah, self-compassion, self-forgiveness. So basically, I like to use the tool with my clients. I give them the homework to journal. I forgive myself into buying into the misunderstanding that, and then ... you put the misunderstanding you have thought or bought about you, and then you say the truth is ... and then just I invite you to write down and to write it down, because once you identify actually where the truth is about the misunderstanding and you get the information, you can see how silly it is, the things we get from outside. And this way, actually, it's as well easier to release. And another sentence is as well to be used here. I forgive myself for judging myself ... And then you put the judgment for you. And then the truth is, and again here, by sitting down, writing it down, because something happens as well with the brain when we actually sit down and write it. So, and you see this, and then you come as well with the truth about the judgment about you. You can see how ridiculous actually it is. And this way, you might see that it's possible to experience past shifts actually. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Claudia, Dr. Biggett, and Carol Ann. For me, I would say just remember that self-forgiveness is a personal thing that goes really, really deep, and it's an individual process. It involves you acknowledging your actions and taking responsibilities and working towards self-compassion. And also, for those who are Christian as well, if you don't hold if you hold the unforgiveness, you have to understand, just look at God, how he forgives us for our sins. He's always there. He doesn't judge us. So how can you judge yourself and tell yourself that you are not good enough for that, or the pain that you go through in life, instead of holding yourself or actually blaming yourself and say, I should have known better? How can you know better? How can you know something you don't know? So you can't blame yourself. You can't say, I should have known better. There are some people, they get married and then they end up in a physical abusive relationship or sexually abusive relationship, and they blame themselves and say, I should have known better. But how can you know? You wouldn't know. Some people, they're really, really good in putting some personality and character. So you can't blame yourself. But there's one thing you can do. You can think about the unique person and special person in front of you, which is you, and go through therapy, professional therapy, and move on. Live your life how you are meant to live, not living your life based on what was done to you. Yes, we acknowledge what was done. There's a relationship coach, actually, she's on YouTube, but she's really, really big on YouTube. When she tells her story, I'm like, what now? What now? But she is actually decided to build something. She was raped and so many things happened. But when she speaks about it, you can see the compassion within her. You can see that joy that she's actually forgiven. And that's why she's living this life that she's living, because she's chosen to actually embrace who she is as a person. So you can look at those people like a role model and just live your life, knowing that you are beautiful and great. We are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. Please connect with our coaches as well if you feel that you need to work on forgiveness. We have a training workshop tomorrow at 2 p.m. UK time. In Africa, it will be 4 p.m. Other countries, you have to convert your time. What's the time in your area, Dr. Bigot? 2 p.m. UK time?
2 p.m. UK is actually here in New York, it will be 9 a.m., Los Angeles, 6 a.m. But let me tell you, if you want your result, it's worth waking up early on Saturday.
Yeah, just come and join us. It will be very, very powerful. Just come and join us and be with us for 2 hours. It'll be amazing. God bless. Live with grace, everyone.